Howdy, I'm Josh with Art and Creative. I want to walk you through a bunch of different audio setups, video setups for podcasting, YouTube content, anything you're going to need to be able to get high quality imagery just like this, and even setups if you're going to be having a conversation with two people. So without further ado, let me contextualize this to your needs. One of them is that Paul and the team mentioned that you may be using Matchpoint Coffee and their podcast recording studio. And then I will also move into some setups where you don't have access to this and you are doing it on the spot, kind of run and gun. I could find a few details about what they may be using on site, which if they have a podcast setup in studio, use what they have. It's going to be super easy, especially what I see here. This is a Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'm using Rodecaster Duo, actually what I'm recording my audio into, and I'll show you here in a minute. This is going to be great. The things that you need to know is I would always record a backup audio if possible. So there's a little button right here that says record right there. And as long as there's a micro SD card inside of the recorder, you will get a dedicated audio file from the recorder itself. Plus, if you have any cameras that you're shooting from, have a dedicated audio there. Whenever I'm doing podcast interviews and audio setups, I am recording into a Rodecaster of some kind, whether it's this one or my Duo that's here at my desk. And then this audio setup is going to be great if these are the microphones that they have. They have an XLR cable running into the Rodecaster Pro 2. And then if they are using cameras like this, that's going to be great. They may have dedicated audio. These have little two microphones. Those little microphones are just used so that in editing, you can pair them together. Whether you're editing in CapCut, that might be the easiest entry editor platform for anyone to use. You can also do DaVinci Resolve, and then of course Premiere Pro as some of the most widely used one. Final Cut Pro is also the Apple version of your options. Whenever you're shooting this, you can also shoot some content on a phone that you have on site. And if I was going to do it with a phone, I would use something like this little Hollyland setup. There are some other ones out there like the DJI Mini, Mic Mini, or even the DJI Mic 2 and Mic 3 that just came out. And these are just going to be, you've seen these with content online. They're going to have this little wireless box, and you pull these little wireless mics out, and you can have two of them. And then this wire right here, one will be able to plug into your phone itself. And you'd plug that into the bottom, whether you have USB-C or Lightning. And then audio will come straight into your phone so that people creating social content for you, holding it vertically or horizontally, will have a dedicated audio from each one of these microphones. So the person interviewing or being interviewed would each have one of these clipped onto their chest somewhere, and or holding it out like this. Either one is going to give some good clean audio. Do a little test footage before, and then you'll be good. That is the cheapest way for run and gun audio production and content that we have on the market. I would suggest if you want to go super cheap, Hollyland is great. The microphones are amazing. But if you want to go a little bit higher end, then a DJI Mic Mini or then DJI Mic 3 or Pro 3. Those are going to be some of your better bets. And the 3 is now, I think, $300 on the market. Some higher end as well that you can level up one more time is going to be some of these larger like lavalier type microphones. If you have these, then use them, but I wouldn't go out and just purchase these anymore. These are super, super expensive, and you can get as good or better quality with some of these other wireless ones that are inside of these little boxes now. And those are going to be much easier to use. Okay. Those are the wireless mic options for run and gun. If you're in the studio and you don't have access to this Matchpoint Coffee production studio, then one of the things that I would suggest if you're going to go and rebuild your own to use at a location, if you're physically at a location, this Rodecaster Duo is probably going to be the easiest thing for you to have set up. That way you can have two of these set up for microphones just like this one. And then these other locations can actually connect to your DJI Mic Mini or the Pro 3 mics, and that'll connect actually wirelessly to the Rodecaster because it's all within that Rode family. In addition to that, if you have some access to other microphones, here's what you may have access to. easiest thing is going to be just regular microphones, handhelds, and these are going to be amazing. There's like Sennheiser, that's going to be one of the best ones out on the market. And then you'll just use an XLR jack and go into the Rodecaster Duo, or into some little field recorders are going to be another option. So you can get some little Tascam field recorders that have an XLR. This one doesn't, but you can get some XLR jacks and you can put 1 or 2 microphones into this. And if you're recording run and gun, those are going to be really great because you can record straight into an SD card, pop that SD card into your computer, and then you've got all of your high quality audio. If you want to record audio just like this and have a setup here, I'm using the Elgato Pro mic boom arm or desk mounted arm, and then I'm using a Shure SM7B. So if you have 2 people that you're doing a recording setup, this Shure microphone you've seen everywhere. This is a really solid option, and it's super easy to work with the Rodecaster Duo. It has its own dedicated audio profile. They are very gain hungry microphones. So if you don't know what that means, I would just buy a Shure, 2 XLR cables if you're doing podcast interview, 2 of these arms, and then plug them into Rodecaster Duo, and then select the Shure SM7B profile, and then you should be good to go as long as the audio levels are good. From a video standpoint, the phone is going to be great. The phone, especially if you're using a 16 or greater, the video from those are going to be absolutely amazing. You can play around with audio. I know this is a audio focused conversation, but you can play around with lighting if you want, but audio is going to be the most important thing. People can forgive poor quality video, but audio, not so much. If you do need some quick lighting, like if a space is a little bit dark, then I would get some of these by Newer. It's a great company that has a bunch of different options out there. And you've got these little like Newer lights. These are the TL96 RGB lights. And they've got a couple of different settings that you are able to take. And let's say if I need some fill on the background, just like that, or if I've got shadows over here, now this area is all lit up a little bit better, then you can use stuff like that. And these are magnetic to one another. Super cheap, super easy to run and gun. If you're doing some on location sets that you don't have a lot of control, these are really great. You can have the cameraman hold those lights overhead or put it on a little tripod, and then you're good to go. If you're setting up your own dedicated studio, sound dampening, use just a moving blanket is the cheapest way. Otherwise, you can get some little background, little pads like this that have some foam in it, and that'll make sure that you don't have too much echo bouncing off all over the place. Okay, in regards to taking the final product, if you're doing a interview, then the platform that I'm going to suggest is called Riverside, and I'll pull that up here. So Riverside is primarily set up for podcasting and video, like video marketing, interviews, social clips, all that. It'll take your interviews and pre-cut. It'll remove ums and spaces and all those types of sounds or like plosives that you have into the microphone, and it'll make it very easy to edit. And then it'll also cut up different social clips as well so that you can post those to different accounts, and it'll take it out of the whole video and slice it all up so it's easier to post. Riverside was originally and still is very great for people doing like digital interviews. So if you have someone that is remote and you're doing an interview, Riverside's great. But if you still do stuff, like if I had someone sitting here to my left or to my right, then it can still have uploaded content, and I'll go through and do some slicing and dicing and make your post-production much, much easier. Of course, you can use other editors, but that's going to be the easiest one that I suggest to get started very, very quickly. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. This is a quick intro, so it's not meant to be super, super comprehensive, but it should give you a good idea of some places to start. To reiterate everything, easiest way to get started, phone and little portable microphone devices like Hollyland or the DJI Mic Minis. If you want to go more expensive where you own it, Rodecaster Duo, plus the Shure SM7B, Elgato Pro Arm, and then you can get into some expensive cameras as well to make the visuals look nice, or just use iPhones and have several iPhones on tripods so you have 3 different angles, one wide and then one for each one of the close-ups of the 2 subjects if you're doing 2 people. Those are the easiest ways to enter into this space, and I'm glad to help in any way that I can. Hopefully that this helped. Talk soon. Bye.